legend in the 12-step programs in Iowa, Doug M. in the house. His story, what happened, and what his life is like now, today, live.
Open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope. Open my eyes to see the world through different eyes, revealing your light, restoring hope.
It's 3 minutes after the hour on this Monday, Restoring Hope Live at restoringhopelive.com. Also, webcastonelive.com and our local affiliate, 99.3 KTIA. Welcome to another Monday. Joe Mintz from St. Gregory's in the house, and he does... dude, you got a hair out of place. It's just one, but I can see it from here. Are you okay with that?
I left the office early and I had the window down. It's a nice day out, and it may have blown one out of place.
It did. It blew one, but you're okay with that.
Well,
should I yell for makeup and hair?
You know, I'm not okay with it. I'm going to be honest. But
Okay.
if I'd stopped cutting it so close, and I'd have time to prep a little beforehand.
Well, we got a full makeup room back there. You can, you that spray on tan stuff. And
a bunch of dudes in here. It'd feel weird if I was in there primping,
Yeah, I know. Pee Wee Herman never primps.
Oh, my gosh. I thought we settled on, who did we settle on?
Wasn't Pee Wee Herman. That's right. We settled on somebody else.
Hank Williams.
Hank Williams Sr. That's right. That's who we settled on. All right, Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, watching the Hat our last week with Bob. Then he's off for a week. And are you vacationing or are you working?
I'm working. It's a conference.
It's a conference.
It's a work conference.
All right, yeah. And our special guest today, Doug M., who is, if I may be so bold, I was going to apologize up front for embarrassing you, but I don't think anybody can embarrass you. You think so?
I don't think so.
No.
They try.
How many years sober?
41.
41. So you started drinking at age 3?
16.
16.
Yep.
Wow. All right. Well, we're going to talk to Doug M. about what his life was like, which couldn't have been very long if he was only 16, what his life is like now and how he got there. Father Tattoo producing. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. No, I know there are so many choices you have at this very hour of the day, whether you're watching this live at 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time or whether you're watching this on a podcast. We appreciate it. Our goal is to inform you, to energize you, to share God's testimonies with you, because I believe something within Doug's testimony is part of God's DNA, and he wants you to hear it. It's a nugget of wisdom. It's something you've been struggling with, perhaps not for yourself, perhaps maybe for a daughter or a son or a loved one, and something Doug says today will spark a thought and begin a process to restoring your life. And that's what we're all about. St. Gregory's is our sponsor. How's everything going today, Joe?
Very well. Very well.
I saw an article over the weekend that suicide rates are really jumping among teens. Is that tied to alcohol and drugs, or have they even got into alcohol and drugs with this rush of suicides?
It's always been tied to alcohol and drugs, but, really, it's kind of an odd thing. It's almost a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't want to go too far into that, but what we see is there's so much sensitivity to bullying and all of these things. It really kind of brings it to the surface. And oddly enough, as we try to combat it, they feel it more as it's happening too. They're more aware of it. And so, it's just kind of a natural phenomenon that you see coming along with that. So.
Well, years ago, and I don't remember how long ago, it would have been within 10 years, there was a suicide at Southeast Polk, and they seem to have more than their share. And I interviewed the mother of a young man who committed suicide, and one of her comments off mic was, "Did you see the memorials that they built for my son on the internet?" And I don't even know if Facebook was around. I think it was probably MySpace at the time. And I was about to compliment her on what a nice job that her friends, her son's friends have done, until her tone changed. And she said, it just glorifies it. We can come to the funeral. We can get into the classrooms. We can preach that, suicide is not the answer. But then you see these monuments to these kids that are built on Facebook. And when your kid's down and out and depressed and he doesn't think there's any reason to live, he knows that's going to be his last stamp on life. And that's tough.
Yeah,
that's tough. We're going to do a show on Restoring Hope Live probably in week 5 or 6 that will feature a parent whose child was lost to suicide because of bullying. Yeah. Because of bullying. So that's one of the programs you're going to hear coming up live. All right, so Mr. Doug M., where were you born?
Fairfield, Iowa.
Okay, lived here all your life?
Lived in Iowa the majority of my life. Yeah,
Okay.
except when I was in the military, and then I took a hiatus to California just before I sobered up. Yeah,
And what branch of the military were you in?
Air Force.
Okay, did you fly planes?
No, I was a teletype and telephone operator.
Oh, you were in communications.
Yes, and I spent 39 consecutive months in Vietnam.
Wow, thank you for serving.
Well, you're welcome.
And what age did you go there?
22.
22. Okay, so you were sober when you were in Vietnam.
No. I started drinking when I was 16.
Okay.
So I was 21 when I was in boot camp. But as soon as I got out of boot camp, I got to start drinking again. And then I went to California, and Vietnam was in full bore. And because you could get overseas pay and all this stuff, I volunteered to go overseas to Vietnam. And they took me. And that was in 1967. And I went over there, and I got busted twice for
drinking?
For drinking, yeah.
You got busted in the military for drinking?
Oh yeah. Once was a.
I thought that's all sailors did was drink.
No, well, now I was a flyboy. I wasn't a sailor.
Oh, okay.
The first time was they had a commanding officer come in for an inspection.
Yeah?
And I was an under. What do you call it?
Underachiever?
No, I was not. I was a non-commissioned.
Oh, okay. Oops, I'm sorry. Not an underachiever.
Non-commissioned.
Nice.
And,
One for me.
E4 is where I was at.
Okay.
And see, we weren't supposed to have alcohol. Well, in my locker on the top shelf, as soon as you open up the locker, you could see all my booze in there. And I was a big Scotch drinker, and I had Johnny Walker Black and Johnny Walker Red in there. And of course, they came through and they opened up my locker. This general opened it up, and there's set 3 bottles of booze. So I get a phone call from my commanding officer, and he wants me to come over to his office. So I showed up, and I walk into his office, and he opened up his drawer, and he pulled out a bottle of Scotch, and he said, "Is this yours?" Well, what was I supposed to do? Yeah, it's mine. He said, "Come over here," and I walked over to him, and he just pulled my stripes off.
Oh, no.
And busted me from E4 down to E0, and then I earned those back.
Okay, now hold on. I want to stop you there. Doug M. is our guest today on Restoring Hope. At that point, did you think that a bell go off, a light go on that said, maybe I have an alcohol problem?
Nothing ever went off in my head about being. I used to tease years later that I must have been an alcoholic, but you always do that with your friends that you're drinking with.
Right.
And you think they're going to say, yeah, you're an alcoholic because that means I am one too. Of course not. I never realized I was an alcoholic.
But your booze just cost you a big deal.
Yeah, but that was just part of life.
Okay.
To me, 22 years old, and that. So what else? You're in the
Okay.
service. You're around drinking people and all that stuff. That just I never even gave it any thought.
But you could see now how, looking back on that time, hindsight's 2020, that should have been a wake-up call for you.
Well, could have been,
But it
Should have
wasn't.
been. No, it wasn't.
Well, let's go on to some more.
Okay.
Tell me what the next one was.
Well, the next one was I was TDY at a
I don't know what TDY is. You know what, Joe?
temporary duty. I was sent temporary duty to a place called The Lot, which was the old French capital in South Vietnam.
Okay.
And I was up there, and we stayed downtown in a hotel because there was no barracks or anything like that up there. And we were drinking one night up at the Army compound, and somebody said after they closed up the Army thing, they said, well, we are not done drinking yet. And I said, oh, no problem. I said, I know where we can go back down to the hotel, and I'll find that Jeep, and we'll drive downtown. So we get down there, and I go into the sergeant's room, and he's asleep, all that stuff, and I'm digging around trying to find the stupid keys of the Jeep, and I couldn't find them. I was walking out the door, and then it dawned on me. He's got those things underneath his pillow. So I went in and I lifted up the pillow and I took the keys, and of course it jostled him awake. Well, by the time he really came to, he realized what was going on. We were in the Jeep and he's yelling, "Hey, get back here, get back here." Well, I did come back. So then the next morning when I did get back, he says, "You're going back to Phan Rang to the company base, and we'll pull your stripes when you get back there." So,
And that didn't set off a light or a bell that perhaps you had an alcohol problem.
Heavens no.
In fact, you earned badges of stripes probably.
Yeah.
Or honor badges for alcoholism.
Well, I didn't think of it back then, but yeah.
Okay.
So
Doug M. is our guest today. He is, what can I To me, you're. Everybody talks about Jimmy O. Well, see, you're my Jimmy O, because I didn't know. And Jimmy O was a guy in 12-step programs here for years, and what I've always heard is he did or didn't quit drinking, but whatever he did, he was sure a character in the meetings.
Okay, well, Jimmy O and I share a belly button birthday.
Okay.
Jimmy O and I, our belly button birthdays were August 17th.
Okay.
So we did share that. We shared a mutual friend. I was in a relationship. I broke up. Jimmy O married her.
Oh my!
And 4 or 5 weeks later, they got annulled. So Jimmy O, whenever I'd see Jimmy, he says, we share a birthday together and a woman.
Okay, well, that was nice to know. And whenever Doug shares in a 12-step meeting, he's always got wisdom to share. And you actually knew the man who started the 12-step program here in Iowa. Right?
Judge Ray Harrison.
Judge Ray Harrison.
Not too many blocks from right here is when they came. A guy from Omaha came over and talked to Judge Ray Harrison in his office, and then he's the one that started it in Des Moines in 1943. 1943.
Now, where were you in 43?
I wasn't even thinking in my mom and dad's head. I was born.
Okay.
I was born in August 44.
44. All right. Yeah. All right. So, you are now you're home from Vietnam, still drinking.
Well, I'm not home yet from Vietnam.
Okay.
No, I still got another year and a half in Vietnam.
And did you lose your stripes the third time because of alcohol?
No.
Okay.
No. I see. If you stayed over there for every year that you if you said I would like to stay another year in Vietnam, they would send you any place in the world for 30 days.
Okay.
Travel free and any place. They give you a plane ticket to wherever you wanted to go. And I was with a drinking buddy, and he said, "Well, come on." He said, "Let's go to Europe," because he owned a bar over by Belgium. And he said, "Let's go there." And I said, "Okay." So I was going to go there. And then I found out that we couldn't go through China and this. So we had to come clear back through the United States to go over to Europe. And that was going to be about a 40 or 50-hour flight, see? And I says, "I'm not going." So I changed my mind, and I went to Rio de Janeiro. And it was during Carnival that I'm in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Okay.
For 30 days of fun and drinking and all of that stuff.
Non-stop drinking?
Oh, yeah. Oh, nonstop. Yeah.
Nonstop.
I get arrested for something foolish. And
once again, no bells, no lights.
No bells, no lights.
Okay.
No, just
Dumb in a rock at this point, aren't you?
Call the embassy.
Okay.
Get me out of this. But it was minor, and I had the money to pay for it, and so I paid them, and they released me. See, I've never been incarcerated long enough to draw a sober breath. I was either in for a few hours or out, or something like that. So,
okay. All right. All right. Doug M. is our guest, and we're kind of walking down the path that he took. And how old are we now?
I'm 68 now.
No, I'm sorry. In the story, how old are you now?
I'm probably about 24.
All right. And when do you get out of Vietnam?
1970.
And you're how old then?
25.
Okay. So
26. I'll be 20.
When you get out of Vietnam, where do you go next? You come back to Iowa?
I come back to Iowa, and I get drunk and driving. On the night I was going to go back to California the next day.
Don't tell me, Joe, no bells, no lights, right?
I wouldn't think so, no.
No bells, no lights?
No.
Okay,
Everything sounds pretty normal, par for course so far. No
but
reason
seriously, now, Joe, from your perspective, though, that does this for a living, this is normal, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
sign after sign where they're knocked down, laid out, lose a job, lose a wife, lose whatever because of alcohol, and it just goes right over their head.
To a point, but it's usually one of those things that's going to trigger something. I mean, it's some people go through more of them than others.
As we continue, we'll continue with Doug M.'s story and find out what finally brought him to his knees and into the 12-step program in which he currently has 41 years. Is that right?
That's correct.
Holy Toledo.
One day at a time, buddy.
Restoring Hope Live, brought to you in part by St. Gregory's. If you're looking for a place for a loved one, someone you really care about, or maybe it's somebody at work that just needs to discover God's plan for their life, look them up. They're on the web. St. Gregory's Retreat.
Are you trying to figure out the web
Yes!
address? St. Gregory CTR, Mac.
Thank you.
You got
St. Gregory CTR MA. No, there's no Mac on there. StGregoryCTR.com. Look them up. Check them out. See what's there. Bob Montserrat in the house. Joe Mines. Our guest is Doug M. Father Tattoo in the production booth. I'm Mac, and thanks for listening. Couldn't do it without you. Right here on KTIA, Iowa.
Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I'm administrative manager
I am the senior technician.
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed rider, it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope, open my eyes to see the world through different eyes, revealing your light, restoring hope.
21 minutes after the hour, it's Restoring Hope Live at restoringhopelive.com. You can also listen or watch this program anytime you want at Webcast One. That's the name one, live.com. And check out our previous shows and our shows to come. Coming up tomorrow, Ryan Jorgensen is here in studio. He's been moved here from Chicago to plant a church. And I'm fascinated by that idea. Because in my world, I'm an entrepreneur and I start businesses. Well, I seem to think that planting a church is like starting a new business. You have to find the right location, the right people to staff it, make sure you've got a product that is acceptable in the marketplace, and then how do you let people know? And that's what Ryan will talk to us about tomorrow. That's live here on restoringhopelive.com and The View from a Pew. Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, watching the chat. Also, Joe Mites from St. Gregory's in the house. And, of course, Father Tattoo producing our show. Our special guest today is Doug M. He's one of Des Moines' well-known 12-steppers. And no, that's not a country dance. That is someone who's in a 12-step program. Doug has been continuously sober for, I just can't even believe to say this, 41 years. Are you the most senior in our community?
No. There's a guy up at Dallas Center that's got 53.
So he's going to die soon, so you can take that position?
No. And then there's another one that's got 45.
45.
Yeah. But there might be a few others.
For me to have 41, you'd have to add 39 years on to 53. That'd make me not. Oh, no, I'll never catch you.
Okay, now there was a guy in Prairie City that's dead now.
Okay.
He went to his first 12-step meeting in 1948 with a guy from Des Moines named Ed Emerson, who got sober in the 12-step program in 1948.
Okay.
And he took him 20 years to sober up.
Okay.
And he was 42 years sober when he died at 93. So he was 51 when he finally got the program.
Well, that was
So
me.
it's
I was
never
50.
too late, and you don't know. You can't say, I might not live that long.
Yeah. And one of the things that I like about this show, I guess it's my show, so I should like it. But I have things I don't like about this show. But one of the things I like about this show is Doug and I come from the 12-step world. Joe does not. St. Gregory's does not practice a 12-step program. Tell us the difference between what Doug and I are used to in a 12-step program and what St. Gregory's does. Because at the end, they're both kind of higher power centered, and we discover what God's plan for us in our life was.
Yeah, and realistically, being a residential facility, it's not that it's all that much different. It's just more intensive. It's a residential facility. We're more of a cognitive structure.
Big words.
The tools by which you use to process your life, your emotions, all of those things, and kind of restructure your perspective on life and where you are, where you want to go. So the end game, and we've talked about this a lot before, the end game ends up being in the same place.
Yeah.
We're trying to save lives. We just take a different route to get there. A lot of the folks that'll come into a program like St. Gregory's, a lot of chronic relapse, lots of people that for whatever reason it's just not working. And we're really just trying to come at the same issue from a different perspective and try to find something that's going to really resonate with them to help them really start taking a different perspective on this as soon as possible.
Yeah, if you're listening and you've got a loved one or somebody you care about or somebody in your family or at work who have taken stab after stab after stab, that's probably the wrong way to put it, but they've tried and tried and tried to get sober and they can't. They might put together a couple months, maybe they put together a year, but it didn't, for some reason it didn't work. That's where St. Gregory's is the alternative to those folks who did not get through a 12-step program successfully. Now, I'm going to ask a dumb question. What do graduates of St. Gregory's do after they're gone? I mean, do you have meetings? I mean, do y'all get together and have a hoot out or something?
No, we don't really. We're never going to really go down the lifelong meetings structure.
Okay.
We do advocate smart recovery, and we do have some of our graduates that'll return to AA or NA. But smart recovery is a structure that we use. It's not really designed for really long term. The whole point is, what can we do to help you stabilize your life and go live your life? As opposed to, really this lifelong commitment to recovery. We're really shooting for a lifelong commitment to your life.
Okay, so to help me understand, talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old. I go to meetings, and I, quite frankly, don't want to stop going to meetings. Because whenever I go to a meeting, we had a great meeting last Saturday morning, Doug, and there was a guy there that was there for his very first meeting ever. And the whole room just lit up. Because there we are, we get to help this. I suppose this kid was 30, remember?
Yeah.
And we all chime in, and what it does, and I remember going home and telling my wife, because my wife always says, how was the meeting? And I told her I was just rejuvenated. Mm-hmm. It was like I was back at my very first day, November 10th, 2000, at my first AA, or my first 12-step meeting. Mm-hmm. So if what do you do differently that doesn't require that type of substantial programming, the implementation, that support?
Well, not that much, realistically. And honestly, to answer you, my advice would be don't stop going to meetings.
I can't.
That's your service.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you give to your community, and that's an integral part of our program as well, is that community service, being others-centered. What does it look like for you to not just be surrounded about your issues, but how are you giving your gifts to other people? And that's how you do that. And that's a big issue. For somebody that's not, for whatever reason, able to find their fulfillment there or whatever, let's find out where you can. And that's really the point for us, is what does it look like for you individually to find fulfillment in being others-centered?
Do you have graduates that then evolve into counselors?
We, in our program,
Yeah.
that come back and work for us.
Yeah. Or go work for other people.
We've got one.
Okay.
Now, that one we're always very, very careful with. And the reason is because, first of all, I know a lot of people in recovery that are horrible counselors.
Sure.
I know a lot of them that are great counselors.
Yeah.
But that is not something that's a primary concern for us.
Okay.
What we're looking for in our staffing are people who are going to best be able to deliver the programming that we offer. That's all we care about. If you're in recovery or not, that's not an issue for us. Now, as far as people entering the field of recovery because they're in recovery, if they're doing it because their gift set is minded towards that and that is something that they've got a skilled in and a passion for, that's fantastic. If they're doing it to make sure that they're not out of that environment to maintain their own sobriety, that's a problem.
Okay.
Counselors that enter into the field of recovery because of their own recovery, their relapse potential exponentially increases.
Really?
It really does.
So what St. Gregory's teaches is how to get out in that world, live life at its best, and put that moment, that period that you were recovering where it was in the past.
Yeah.
Can I
you
jump
give
in
them tools to continually remind them how to stay sober.
Don't you find, I found and I've seen and I've heard that people rebel, addicts rebel from people that aren't one of them.
Sometimes.
Because they say, you can't relate to me.
Sometimes.
And they just don't want to, they'll shut it off.
Yeah, sometimes. And our it's pretty much a canned response. We're really not trying to teach you how to be in recovery. We're trying to teach you how to have the life that you were purposed to have.
Right.
For us, it's not about addiction or recovery at all. We're really talking a lot more about your life. Now, certainly, I know I'm able to relate to an awful lot of people because I was a meth cook. I've been there and done that. That does not necessarily give me a skillty to do that in and of itself. So again, we're really looking at who's going to be able to teach someone the tools and skills required for them to get their own lives on track as well as we possibly can.
But how do you track them? Once they come through your program, how do you track to see if they're being successful?
All of our graduates
Small
are on
implants right behind the right ear. No, I'm kidding.
GPS units.
Yeah. We've got a graduate mentor program. So all of our graduates, when they return home, they're on the phone with our recovery coaches each week for the next 12 months. And we also requisition random UAs each month throughout that period. So.
Okay. See, the program you and I are in, Mac, we're not the only program.
Right.
Right. We're just the most successful program they found. Really.
Well, for them. Yeah, we're not saying the 12-step program is the most successful program.
It has been found to be the most successful
for you
program
and I.
For anyone seeking recovery and sobriety.
Well, I got to tell you, when I research, I'm not arguing,
but it's not the only way.
I'm just telling you, when I research sponsors and the programs that they had, St. Gregory's is just phenomenal. I mean, it's phenomenal because they do track them, so they know. It's just, I mean, it's if you want to fail at sobriety, you can fail. And no St. Gregory's, no 12-step program or anything else can save you. You want to drink, you're going to drink. But if you don't want to drink, between those two programs, you're going to learn the tools to stop yourself from taking that first
step. The success rate in our 12-step program is not that great.
Right.
It's not that great. We have a lot of people that die in our program.
Every week.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
I'm always pleased, but a little shocked when I open up an obituary, and they'll say something about AA, and you hope they're 80, but they're 32. And whenever you see that cancer of the pancreas, pancreatic cancer, whenever you see kidney failure, whenever you see cirrhosis, that usually means
a lot of them they don't say anything.
Right. I wish they did.
Died suddenly.
Right.
Yeah. I wish they did.
Yeah.
I've instructed my family that if I ever fall off the wagon and I die because of that, I want it in my obituary that I died because I drank.
But there's a lot of people that are big time, make the news in their deaths also, because there's a lot of murders and a lot of suicides.
Yeah.
That are associated with. We're dealing with a death program. Any addiction, we're dealing with death.
Yeah.
We're dealing with, and some of it is nice and normal, or an overdose, is not violent.
Right.
But somebody getting shot, or stabbed, or this, or car wrecks. Those are horrendous deaths.
Well, and there are guys here in town. Just let me say this and not give you the names, okay? Just you've listened to me long enough. Just trust me for a second. There are well-known, recognized public figures that you have either seen on TV, listened to on the radio, elected them, didn't elect them, whatever, that died from this disease, but you never knew it. You didn't know that's what happened to this person and that person. And there's sometimes I wish I could say those names because I think people would go, oh, no, really? I just thought he just, got sick and passed away.
Well, if he's dead, you can. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking of one, Dr. Gleason. Dr. Gleason was the medical guru for President Bill Clinton. And he committed suicide. I was at the very last meeting that he went to out at Hope on a Saturday morning, and he'd been stopped by the police for speeding. And he came in there, and that night he'd killed himself. So it's not how big you are or how influential you are, or that it could strike.
Doug M. is our guest. Joe Mites from St. Gregory in the house. Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, producing, of course, his Father Tattoo. And I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Not always a pleasant subject, but one that God wants you to hear about, because he wants you to restore your life, save your life, follow his plan, the plan that your Creator created for you. Do you know what it is? We'll talk about that next when we come back. Live on RestoringHopeLive.com. on KTIA, Iowa.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
The dawn of a new era begins.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
for the Top Salem Radio Network News, and then Pastor Michael Mudloff with True Blue here on 99.3 KTIA. Tomorrow, my special guest, Ryan Jorgensen, just moved to Des Moines with his wife, and I think there's 3 kids, and he's going to plant a church. And first time I ever heard that, I said, how do you plant a church? I mean, do they have, like, roots? Yeah, they do. And they call it planting a church because you literally grow this basis of an organization somewhere else, and then you move it. You replant it. And in our case, it's in Des Moines, and he's going to talk about what that's like. And I think that'd be scary for your family. So we're going to talk about that. Doug M. is our guest today. He's a 41-year veteran of Des Moines' 12-step program. He's been sober 41 years, and you can tell by his beautiful face. Yes, he got sober at 3. Joe Mind from St. Gregory's is in the house along with Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, watching the chat, and we're produced today by the lovely Father Tattoo, who has his... did you get a little sun this weekend? You look like you got... No? Okay, you're just blushing. Drinking too much? Is that it? Okay. All right. So you are 22 years old. You're home from Vietnam, right?
No, I'm 25 home from Vietnam.
Okay, 25 years old, home from Vietnam. Got you knocked down a couple different times. Alcohol is a main thing for you over when you're serving your country over there. And you come back to Iowa and you get an OWI.
Right. After I left the service, I was given an honorable discharge.
Okay.
Honorable discharge after all of that stuff, and just floundered around. And the biggest thing that I ever did when I got back is I went over to Waterloo and I went to the workforce development thing, and I told the woman that I wanted to get a job. And she told me the best thing that I ever could hear was, I told her I just got out of the military, and she says, you're eligible for 6 months of unemployment. So I didn't have to work. I didn't have to do anything. I got to drink for 6 months. So then it was during that first 3 that I went out, you see, and I got my first OWI.
Badge of honor.
Which was the night before I was going to go to California. I was arrested. I was blood tested, which I don't remember. I was thrown in a jail in Cedar Falls, Iowa. And the next morning I was led down to the courtroom. And all I remember out of that is that the judge looked at me and he said, I want to tell you something. He said, your blood alcohol was 3.9.
Wow.
He says 3.8 and you should have passed out. 4 point, you would have been dead.
Yeah.
And here you stand, and he said, how do you plead? And I said, I plead guilty because I got to catch an airplane to California. And he said, that'll be $306.
Wow, that's a lot of money back then.
Well, yeah, but I went down because I had my billfold, and I said, give me my billfold, and I got the $306, and I paid it, and they released me, and I went up to the airport and went to California.
So what did you do in California?
Well, I floated around. I knew a woman out there, and I lived with her, and I called her one time, and she joined this 12-step program. After about a year of sobriety, I just happened to recall her phone number, and I thought I'd give her a call. And I called her, and she says, Doug, you aren't going to believe this. And then I told her what I was doing, and she says, Doug, you aren't going to believe this, but I started going to that program 2 months ago.
Wow.
And then I never talked to her again. Never talked to her again.
Did that motivate you to go, though?
To what?
12-step program?
I was already in it.
Oh, you already were in it.
I'd already been in it for a year. And
what finally drove you to quit drinking?
What drove me to quit drinking is I get a rude phone call from my boss, and I'm working in a newspaper in Hampton, Iowa. And it was on January 21st, 1972, and I get a call from my boss at 8:30 in the morning wanting to know if I'm going to come to work that day.
I think that's a fairly acceptable question on a Monday morning when you're
Friday.
It's
a Friday morning.
Friday morning when you're half hour late.
Yeah, and so I wandered in, and he told me, he says, Doug, he says, I'm not going to fire you. He says, but you got to do something about your drinking. He said, I know you're a vet, and there's a veterans representative over at the courthouse. Why don't you go over and talk to him?
Okay.
So I went over there, and I talked to him, and he said, well, there's nothing we can do here. He says, maybe they can help you in Des Moines. So my folks live 40 miles away, and I called my mom, and I told my mom, I says, would you come and get me? I lost my job. He told me he wasn't going to fire me. He just said I really needed to do something about my drinking. And she came and got me, and on Monday morning they brought me down to Des Moines to the VA hospital, and we got down here and talked to a psychologist and or psychiatrist, and he said, well, we really don't treat him here. He says, I got to go to Knoxville. Well, see, my folks are thinking Knoxville, Tennessee.
Right.
And my mom says to him, she says, see, I'm in a drunken stupor. I'm still stooped, after drinking and all that stuff in 3 days. I'm not conscious. And I can remember my mother saying, well, how far is that? And he said, 40 miles. Well, then it dawned on Knoxville, Iowa.
Okay.
But let me tell you, if it would have been Knoxville, Tennessee, my folks would have carted me down there.
Okay.
Because they just wanted me to get rid of me, see?
Sure.
And it was a 90-day program.
Okay.
Well, I didn't want to conform to the rules, and I didn't want to drink because I knew if I drank I was going to have to conform. And after 79 days, they called me in and they said, we got to have a little come to Jesus meeting here and discuss what's going on with you and tell us your side. And I did. And then the next day they called us back. And the director told me, he says, Doug, he says, you're about 3 people away from you being the director of this program.
Okay.
And we're going to ask you to leave.
79 days into a 90-day program.
Yeah, 79 days into a 90. And he says, I'll tell you what. He says, go to Des Moines, do something. He said, I know you want to go back to school. I won't blackball your education. He says, you just got to get out of here.
Why did they want you out of there? What were you doing?
Because I was destroying the program. People were starting to follow what I was doing.
What were you doing?
Well, I didn't want to do calisthenics. I didn't want to go to occupational therapy. I didn't want to listen to what they had to say.
But you weren't drinking.
No, because I knew if I drank, I had to conform to what they were going to tell me, see?
Okay.
Well, I was starting to get people that were saying, hey, Doug's pretty good here. Let's follow Doug. Why are they doing all this stupid stuff? Why are we getting up at 6:30 in the morning doing calisthenics? Why are we going over here and making coffee cups? Why are we going bowling and all that? Why are we going down to these meetings?
So they kicked you out of your 90-day program.
Kicked me out after 79 days. So I had to call my mother, and she came and got me. And then they brought me down to Des Moines. And I ended up down at the Y, and then I made a phone call. I don't know how I found the phone number. I don't know why I called the number. But it was on a Thursday night, and 2 old guys came and got me and took me down to a 12-step meeting on the south side, Southwest 14th and McKinley.
And that was what day?
That was on a Thursday.
But what date?
1972.
Okay.
Been about April 72. 79 days, and then add 3 days on.
Okay.
And then come down here, and I called.
Joe, at St. Gregory's, do you have people like Doug was 40 years ago when they're causing trouble and making hay and not wanting to follow the program?
Yeah.
What happens?
Well, I mean, there's a little bit of a difference in how the program is structured. We're really not necessarily looking for right answers. We're much more concerned with the process by which you come to those answers. That's really the point.
That's a real important point, though.
It is for us, and that's really the fundamental of our program is why are you thinking the way that you're thinking about who you are, your place in the world, all of those things. And that's really what we're looking for. But, that's also part of a different approach. That's why we have a lot of chronic relapses that'll come through, because it is a lot of people. Most of the people that come through can usually teach a program wherever they go.
Sure.
In fact, that's usually what their families will say on the phone. It's like, he's going to buffalo you as soon as you get in. And he goes, well, there's not really any buffaloing us. We're not looking for a right answer.
Right.
That's really the point. But we see that a lot. But yeah, I mean, that's a really big issue also, because at that point, I'm assuming you probably also let at least a little bit of the notion in your head that, I can go at least a little while without drinking. So there's life for me yet. And that's pretty motivating for a lot of people. I know a lot of people, even in recovery, even if they don't do well afterwards, after a treatment center, if they get that spark that starts to creep in that they know it's possible, now we've got a place where we can start.
What's Doug's life like today? 41 years sober. Doug M., one of the rocks in my sobriety and in a lot of people's here in Central Iowa. We're coming back. Joe Mites from St. Gregory's, Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, Father Tattoo producing. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Thanks for listening to KTIA Iowa.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
The dawn of a new era begins.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope. Open my eyes to see the world through different eyes, revealing your light, restoring hope.
10 before the top, Salem Radio Network News, 4:03. It will be Pastor Michael Mudloff in True Blue here on KTIA. Tomorrow's guest, Ryan Jorgensen. He's here planting a church in central Iowa. On Friday, a friend of mine, Jane, I'm going to call her, it won't be about recovery. She has some really interesting ideas, and she also has a very good way of communicating them. And so she's going to be on. We're going to talk a little bit about bullying, as well as some of the passionate subjects that she's on. I put a post up this weekend, and it got a lot of feedback on Facebook. And by the way, if you're one of my Facebook friends, I appreciate when you pop up into my threads. My theory is, and Joe, I'd be interested in getting your comment on this. My theory is that if we could teach our children to not be offended, that we would eliminate most of the bullying. Now, there will always be those physical bullies, those guys that pick on little guys because they can't pick on people their own size. And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this new age where we consider verbal language bullying. And I'll be honest with you, Joe, I'm still from old school. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. That's what I grew up knowing. I chose not to be offended because it's so easy to say, okay, you offend me with that statement. Now we're going to turn to the fact that you want to manipulate the conversation and I should back down simply because you're offended by my statement.
I would say no. I'll bet you the real issue is that you learned to not be offended by that statement. I'm a big believer that people learn how to be who they are. I don't think you'll ever teach someone to not be offended by bullying because I think we always have to learn through experience our perceptions and our realities and how to deal with things, how to interact socially, how to deal with stress, all of those things. Those are things that we learn. Those are skills. I don't think that we'll ever get to a point where we can just bypass that. Because we always have parents that are, every parent, I think, is afraid of their child getting hurt.
Right.
They want them to wear a helmet when they ride a bike. They're always afraid of their first day of school because they know what that is. And there's just not a way to get around it. It's some of those learning experiences that you have to go through. Now, it's love and support and that back end thing to help you get through it smoothly. But sometimes it just doesn't come out that way.
And that's one of the things that you can help teach adults at St. Gregory's is how not to be offended, to learn how those instances that flare up in their lives that sometimes become triggers for using, drinking, or drugs. And also, I'll be honest with you, the skills that a lot of us didn't get when we were growing up.
Yeah, and it's not as hard as it sounds. I mean, what we really work on, is how are you reacting to life? what's driving you to react that way. And the thing that drives you to react the way that you do is what you believe to be true about that activating event. So, when little Jimmy's in junior high and he starts getting picked on by another kid, a parent's always going to say, well, he's insecure, that's why he's picking on you. But that's not really real to Jimmy. Right. All Jimmy's thinking about is, as far as I know, what's true for me is that kid's picking on me. It makes me feel like I'm a lot less than I thought I was, and I'm going to react a certain way because of it. And the way to really start to work on this is to say, well, how true is it that means that you're less than? And start challenging things in that perspective. When we can get to that more rational viewpoint of, it doesn't actually mean that I'm less than, it means that there's something going on here and all kinds of other things interplay with that. That's when you can start at least controlling the off-the-wall reactions to it. Yeah. And that's really the focus there.
Just some of the things that you can learn through some good cognitive.
Those are the things I learned. Because I tell you, that's how I ended up where I was. It was insecurities when I was young. It was trying to fit in with the right crowds. The more wild I got, the more chicks were around and the more friends I had and the more fun life was. And so I got a wild tattoo on my arm and away I went, man. and it was a long time later when, in looking back, it's like, I'm nowhere close to where I thought this was going to get me.
Yeah.
Well, we're a sensitive lot.
Yes.
And people hurt our feelings.
Right.
And we don't know what to do. Well, where do we go? Well, we go to our drug of choice, don't we? To hide in.
Yep.
But also that if you notice, there's a lot of people that play the victim.
Yep.
When they first come to a program, they're the victim, and it is tough to break that because they can play it and you can't get through to them because our society today is you are a victim. Everything is a victim today, everything. No matter what you do, no matter how you talk to it. My old saying was, I got a deep, carrying voice. And I can sit there in front of somebody and I can get a little shrill sometimes. But what I say is when you're talking to somebody honestly, it doesn't matter if it's my deep carrying voice or you sitting over there whispering. When you're talking honestly to those people, it's affecting them, and they're taking it the same way.
How would your life have been different if you hadn't quit drinking 41 years ago?
I'd be dead.
You'd be dead?
My personality had been dead. Yeah, because, see, I wasn't a fighter.
You were mouthy.
Yeah, psychiatrists told me that because of my size and my voice that I scared people. And bullies would come, and they could go someplace, and they could spend all night trying to start a fight or a brawl or something like that. And they'd just say, let's go get Doug, and let's take him tonight, and let's go to so-and-so's place.
Get him all liquored up.
I didn't have to be liquored up.
Oh, okay.
But I was, I was liquored up. But I'd get in there, and I could just say something, or I could just do something that would irritate you. And that's all they said. Doug, just go and get it started, and then you do your drinking and let us handle the brawl. Wow. And that's what I did. And I could go someplace, and they could put me in a place, and in 10 minutes, I'd have it stirred. And they were fighting. And that's what they wanted. And see, if they'd have went on their own, they couldn't have done it all night. They just didn't have the knack
to start a fight,
to get somebody irritated to that point. And today, see, there's no talking today. I'd be shot or stabbed today.
Yeah.
No two ends about it. There's no fighting today. People do not fight today. They kill today. People are packing heat and all this stuff. And they go out, and you know it. You read about it.
Yeah.
What used to be fights years ago is killings, stabbings or shootings today, because the society's changed. But they don't put up with what they put up with when I came to this program either. Society's changed.
Doug, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Mac.
Goes pretty quick. We'll have to have you back sometime.
Well, thank you.
Bob Monster at the Cat of the Hat watching the chat. Thanks for being here today. Joe Mines from St. Gregory's, as always, a pleasure to have you here. We missed you last week.
Yeah, it was the day after Easter, and the day after Easter in my family.
You had a chocolate hangover.
Stuff.
Yeah, I know how that goes. All right. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Ryan Jorgensen, my guest tomorrow, as we continue The View from a Pew all week long here on 99.3 KTIA. And do me a favor tonight, would you? I know there's lots of stuff going on TV. I think the big game tonight, or whatever, the Dallas or whatever you watch. But just maybe sometime, somewhere in the middle of it all, will you just do me one favor for yourself? Just pray.